So very good morning to all the distinguished participants. First of all, I am very thankful for granting me this opportunity to be part of this very important session. It is a very healthy discussion where the government functionaries, private players, various stakeholders are joining hands and deliberating on the issues which has a very significant presence impact on the quality, cost, and the outcome of the project. If you see in this context, for a big infrastructure project like national highways or big projects which require large chunk of land, there is always a paradox. At first instance, we need land to construct some infrastructure. At the same time, as a government, as a state, we want to acquire some private property. The assets which are created is for the benefit of everybody. But the land which is acquired is from the individual or the group of individuals. Earlier in the days, the land acquisition was not very fair to the landowners, especially for the projects which are of key importance, like defense, road, like that. So there used to be a lot of resistance by the farmers, by the landowners, because you want to take the possession of the land, somebody, you are snatching away the livelihood of the person. But after enactment of Right to Fair Compensation Act for land acquisition, now the scales are even now. So if you see the policy framework, if you see the legal framework, legislation, it has addressed a lot of issues. But still there are operational issues. Normally when you are acquiring land, you are depending upon some revenue authority who acts as a kala, who is interested with a job to acquire the land. Practically, right now we are in the process of acquiring land for Jammu-Kashmir Highway and other various important projects. The issues which impact the acquisition process are very small, but the impact is very high. For example, when you try to acquire the land, you have to finalize the alignment. So while you finalize the alignment, you see from the traffic point of view, it is the best possible alignment. But sometimes it impacts the local people in a very harsh manner. So the most key important point which I have found is, number one is the alignment should be done in a judicious manner. It should not impact the operational efficiency of the infrastructure of the road, and at the same time it should cater to the local aspirations also. Then the availability of revenue record. Because all the land assessments are being done on the basis of revenue record. National Highways always supporting the kalas by providing the manpower, retired patwaris, kanugos, who are helping them preparing the Tatima land acquisition records. But I hope these people are not well trained. No doubt, kalas are trained very well, but the people who are engaged in the business of preparing records are not well trained. Sometimes they are too new, just people who are computer savvy, but very little knowledge of the revenue record, or there are people who are retired, but zero knowledge of the computers, but very rich knowledge of the revenue systems. So there need to be balance. Because if the person who is entering the data into the computer, creating the Excel sheets, is not very well versed with the revenue system, they end up in creating or making false entries. For example, if property is gair mumkin, entering it as a chahi, or if it's chahi, it's setting as a gair mumkin. So that creates a lot of problems. Third thing is, whenever you try to acquire a land, the cartels come up. The cartels will try to play with the emotions of the farmers or the landowners, and then they try to convince them we will get you the high prices. I'm telling you a very practical example. For example, we are acquiring land in some villages for this very project. The market rate for the land is around 18 lakhs. per acre. And assessment by Kala as per the Act is around 32 lakhs. It's a fair price. If somebody has to sell his land to them in the market, he will just fetch 18 lakhs. And government is constructing that highway and we are ready to pay him 32 lakhs. But somehow the people want 70 lakhs. And greed has no limit. So these cartels play to the greed of the people. Then they try to push the Kalas in passing the wrong orders. So uniformity in decision making by the Kalas is also impacting it. For example, one Kala is very liberal or maybe hand in glove with some cartels. He may be passing orders which are not right orders. So even if you pass wrong order for 1 acre of land, it will create herd burning among the hundreds of people. We have a very critical example. Along the alignment of the road, there was one piece of land, its area was only half an acre. But since that was of some commercial importance, its assessment was around 75 lakh rupees per acre. Now everybody came that you should apply the principle of equity and they should give us 70 lakh rupees. Now if the Kala is going to accord 70 lakh rupees per acre to everybody instead of 32 lakhs, the cost to government was around 150 crores. So these are the aberrations that are already there because cartels are impacting the decision making and they're delaying it also. So all these issues, and Mr. Ghai has said very clearly, need ownership at the level of the person who are at the helm of the affair. Sometimes we just read the letter, not the spirit. If you are very clear about the letter and the spirit, the works go very fast. Even people are also satisfied with you. Then principle of equity and justice. We should be fair to all. Third thing is, we must understand that if you are acquiring the land is always, you can say, have some emotional value to the families. Because that must have been acquired by the great forefathers. Now parting away with that land is always an emotional question. So these issues should be handled. Of course, money is very, very important part. But catering to the emotions, be empathetic with the people whose land you are acquiring is also very important. Sometimes we are too mechanical, we are too harsh, we are too professional. We leave our emotions out. So that is also a problematic thing. So these are the issues. Then executing contracts, even there are same issues. The contractor is coming, he's a investor, he's an entrepreneur. He invests money. First of all, he invests money by way of bid security. Then he gives you the performance security. Then he complies with all your guidelines. Then he executes some work. Then he seeks payment from you. So he's the person who's not getting a single penny from the government, apart from the cost of the work which he has done. He has the finance, which has some time value. Maybe he has obtained a loan, then he has to pay the interest to the bank, or maybe he's using own savings. Even savings also carry some time value. So this is called cost of capital. So he's paying the cost of capital. If you're delaying the payments to the contractor, or you're passing the orders and then you're not honoring them. For example, when you are visiting the site, you are passing an order, then you lack conviction, you pass verbal order, then you don't honor them. Because the entrepreneur or the contractor, I think we shall, first of all, in our policy making, we need to change this term contractor. We need to, you can say, rechristen them as a service partners. Because they are our service partners. Today, National Highway is able to build thousands of kilometers of roads. It has not been done by the engineers alone. If these contractors, these operators, the service partners were not there, we could have not constructed such a huge length of the road. So they are very, very important ingredient of the work process. We should be very fair to them. So what is fairness? The fairness that we know when we are passing orders, when we are giving them directions, or we are asking them to comply with some guidelines, we must understand they are also humans. They have also families. They are also very concerned. So my only point is that if you want to implement the projects in a timely manner, fair manner, and creating good infrastructure, which should give some good service to the people, we have to be fair to every stakeholder. Few engineers I have seen, they are too much hand in glove with the contractor, and on the other side of the pendulum, there are few engineers who are too strict with them. They don't even allow the person to come and meet them. they ask them to wait for them for 2 hours along, and then they humiliate them also. Then so all nonsense of things are happening here. So we must understand today, if we want to build our nation, we have to come as a team. Our service partner, our contractors, our engineers, our junior staff, they have to act as a one team. And another point which I have understood from my experience is, sometimes we just focus on the outputs. We ignore the outcomes. For example, if you are constructing a highway, if you are constructing 100 kilometers of highway, you have achieved a good output. But that highway alignment has some faults, and it is now causing accidents. It has caused trouble to a lot of people who want to access that road. So you might have constructed a 100 kilometer of road. The output is very good, but outcome is zero. So all the projects must achieve their outcomes, not only outputs. As an engineers, somehow we ignore the outcomes. But the government is investing money, that's the people's money, that is always for the outcome. If you want to construct a 1,000 kilometer highway, it is not for the pure fun of constructing a 1,000 kilometer highway. It is for providing access, basic transport facility, faster transport services to the people. If that road is not catering to the people, that road is of no use. Similarly, you are constructing a bridge, you are constructing a hospital, you are constructing a school, the location of hospital is not good, people are not able to access it. You might be constructing a beautiful air-conditioned hospital with all the infrastructure, but who will use that? It is not accessible to everybody. So outcomes of the projects is very, very important. Then economy. Sometimes we focus too much on the cost. Sometimes we are totally, you can say, so much free and so much liberal, and we are causing the cost of the projects to be on the higher side. So the balanced approach we have to follow. The balance is only possible if your bidding process is very fair. If you are conducting the bidding process, I have done so many projects. I have done procurement of big projects also. The process which I have understood is, you cannot be in collusion with your bidders. You have to be independent, you have to be neutral, and you have to be creating a system where you are fair to everybody. You should give equal opportunities to all the eligible bidders. Provisions in the bid documents, sometimes people try to play with the eligibility conditions just to favor a few. That is the biggest mistake. We should be creating the bid documents with the conditions which should ensure enough participation, but of competent and eligible bidders. We shall not distort the conditions of the bid documents, which will favor a few or favor one cartel. Because when we are doing the procurement, it is not like that you don't know it. You always know it, that what is happening on the ground, how people are responding to your tenders. So you always know it. Sometimes you are part of it, some you are ignorant of that. So when you are doing the procurements, while the principle of neutrality, principle of equality has to be maintained, but then you should have your ears to the ground also. You must understand what people are doing, what mischief they are playing, and how are they playing. But I have understood one point, in our democratic system, if you are fair, if you are transparent, nobody can push you to pass a wrong order. So my only message to everybody is that this is a welcome step which you have done. If you are fair, you are impartial, you are transparent, you are following the principle of equity and justice, you are inclusive, then every project will run through very fast. Only if you violate these principles, then you hit into troubles. I have seen many, many conflicting areas, like in my tenure at various places, as a director of sanitation, then as a program specialist, then as an engineer also, then as an IAS officer also, as a CEO, Govt board also. What I have seen is, if you are fair to the stakeholders, then all the difficulties, all the conflicts are resolved in a time manner. But if you are unfair to one sector because of your own prejudices, it will hamper the impact of the progress. I happened to attend one course by a representative from the CBC, Central Business Commission, Government of India. They gave a study. The people who are delaying the payments to the contractors, who delay the payments, they all end up executing the projects at least by 20 to 40% at the higher cost. Because everybody knows this officer, this project director is in the habit of delaying the payments. So they always add additional cost of capital when they are ready for that. So they have proven on the record with the case studies of big projects, the people who were able to make the faster payments, quicker payments to the bidders, they were always getting the competent rates. The people who were delaying the payments on one pretext or the other pretext, or who were delaying the decision making, like approval of the drawings, approval of the site, or any other decision making which are required for the construction implementation of the project, they always ended up executing the projects at a higher cost by a factor of 25 to 50%. So this is the cost which we could have avoided. This is a wasteful expenditure which we could have avoided. So my only message and request to every stakeholder is that we should be transparent, fair, neutral, and we should have a principle of equity, justice, and inclusiveness. With all these words, I wish very well to all the organizers, and I congratulate Mr. Ghei for organizing such a good webinar. I would have loved to be the part of this webinar for the whole time, but due to some time constraint, I may be able to join for some time. Then I will take your leave. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.